All right, guys, this is a question that I've had asked before. Question is, why do I like Cummins so much? Now, some of the Cummins thing for me came that I was a Dodge guy. My dad's a Dodge guy. My grandfather was a Dodge guy. Well, Dodge and a Ford guy, but Dodge guy most of his life. And then I hung out with Dodge people. My buddy Craig and his family, Craig, Chuck, Brad, and Lynn. Lynn's not so much into cars so much, but they're Dodge people. Other than they do have one Chevy, but I don't hold that against them. But anyways, I was always a Dodge guy. So Dodge trucks, Dodge cars, I've had some Volkswagens and stuff, but that's just, I like the TDI, so that's the diesel side of things. But for the most part, I think I've owned, maybe 4 or 5 other, I shouldn't say that because you take the Volkswagens in there. Like ones that I've driven, probably 4 or 5 other different brands of vehicle, most of them being Volkswagen, one being a Chevy. We won't get into that story, but anyways. I like the simplicity of the Cummins when it comes down to it. Get back on track here. I like the simplicity of them. So just to give you, for instance, I'm just going to go with, a lot of you guys are going to run in newer trucks. And the older trucks, like when you talk, let's say a 12L, like a 1995 Dodge with a Cummins in it. At that point in time, there was no other diesel truck that was even remotely close to that truck. And that was part of the reason that they were so successful with them, is you take a 95 Chevy, has 6.5 in it. They were junk. Don't get me wrong, they worked, but they weren't great engines. And then Ford, which had the 7.3 in it, the pre-Power Stroke, so it would have been, I think it was an IDI, not super Ford guy. Pretty sure it was IDI. Anyways, they didn't have any power either, and they were junk. So really, you only had one, like you could buy a Chevy and you could buy a Ford. Obviously, you guys did because there is something around. If you're a Ford guy or a Chevy guy, pretty good chance that likely you've had those. And if that's what you like, right on, man. But when it came down to it, for a longevity standpoint, in stock form, the Cummins was a better truck. The Dodge with the Cummins in it was a better truck. The automatic transmission was not up to the task in stock form. Beef them up, they're good, as long as they're done properly. But the other ones that had the automatics, and usually they lasted longer because they didn't have enough power or enough torque to hurt themselves. So you take a Cummins, even in stock form, put it in front of either of those in stock form, and they kill them. So anyways, we're going to talk about a 2008, just because at that point, all 3 of them were roughly the same horsepower, and I'll use it loosely, decent engines. So in 2008, we'll start with the Duramax. 2008, the reason that I like the Cummins, so 2008 Duramax, if you need to do injectors, it's a 10.6 hour job to do injectors. 8 injectors, they're like, okay, going in Canadian dollars, because off the top of my head I know the Canadian dollars, you're about $465 an injector, times 8. Means a CP3, you're 15.8 hours. CP3, basically the same price as a Cummins. You're let's say between $700 and $900-ish. There again, Canadian dollars. Now, get into a 2008, 6.4 Ford, which we won't get into very much. Just talking injection systems. The injectors for one of those takes 8.9 hours. You have to replace all 8. The injectors for those are around $400 each. Do a high pressure fuel pump in one of those, the book time is 13.9. So if you're looking at, lots of time, right? And then the high pressure fuel pump for one of those is around $2,000, if I remember right. I could be wrong on that, so I'm not just 100% sure. It's been a long time since I bought one. And then you get into the Cummins side of things, 08 Cummins, so 6.7. CP3, so the injectors on those, 5.3 book time. You can do it faster than that if you know how to do it, but that is the book time, 5.3. And I would imagine the other ones you can do faster too if you've done a bunch. And then CP3 on one of those, 3 hours. So you are considerably less work, and there's only 6 injectors. There for one of those, you're $450, $460 an injector, and the CP3 is at six to, let's say, $800-900 range, depending on where you're buying it. Well, even more than 6. Yeah, you probably, let's say, between 8 and 900. Same with the Duramax one. It may be even more for the Duramax one. It's been a long time since I bought one of those too. Like, personally had to deal with it. So if that's the case, you take the Cummins, you only need 6 injectors. The CP3 is about the same price as the Duramax, but way cheaper than the 6.4. But then you take the labor involved in it, you're like, the difference between, it's less hours to do injectors in CP3 than it is to the closest of, well, doing just the injectors on the 6.4. And I can tell you, your mechanic will curse a lot less at you because they're a lot easier to work on. So, on that side of things, a lot less work. If you have to do a head gasket, they all have head gasket issues. Anybody tells you any different is a liar. They all have head gasket issues. But the head gaskets, I didn't figure that price out, but the head gaskets on a Duramax and Power Stroke are considerably way more time than to do a Cummins. A Cummins, like an 08 Cummins, you're 14 hours book time, if I remember right. 14, 15 hours book time. Versus at least 30 hours to do either of the Duramax or Power Stroke. And in any of the older generations, newer generations or whatever, the Duramax Power Stroke is going to be more time to do any of that stuff than a Cummins. Do a water pump on a Cummins? Man, it takes you longer to drain it and take the belt off than it does to change the water pump. You know, like on a Duramax or a Power Stroke, you're hours to get in there and do that. So that's part of the reason that I like them. Now, don't get me wrong, I have worked on some Duramaxes, I have worked on some Power Strokes, and honestly, if I was going back and doing it again, I would have specialized in Power Strokes and Duramaxes because they're labor intensive and I would have made more money. I'm not gonna lie to you. So it is what it is. But I didn't do that. I've worked on considerably more Cummins. They're easier to work on. The problem is you have to have more volume of trucks, and now we don't really work on trucks anymore. I've just been doing the machine side of things, obviously doing YouTube. And then, you know, doing some stuff with the website and stuff, which the website will be up, barring that I wanted some changes done on it, so that's up to me, or not up to me to do it, but Jacob's going to do, the guy that's doing the website is going to do some changes for me, which kind of throws off the timeline a little bit, but hopefully I'm not back from my holidays until September 9th anyway, so I won't be able to process any orders until after September 9th anyway, and I'll have to learn how to do it. So probably mid-September, everything will be rolling as far as that goes, but don't worry, I'll do a video on it, let you guys know. So, that being said, that's the reason. Oh, that's not actually the only reason. As long as we're not getting too long on this video, let me just check. Nah, we're not too long. So, obviously, because we do all kinds of Cummins, I'm going to show you some Cummins. There again, more reasons. So, on a 6.4 or Duramax block, they have less journals holding the crankshaft. So if you look, I don't know if you guys will be able to, oh yeah, you can see it. You can see it a little bit. So right there, you can see there's a 6.4 crankshaft. It has 5 main journals holding the crankshaft. Duramax, this one right here, there again, I know it's dark in there, I just don't want to move them out. 5 journals per. And then with the Duramax, even worse, is they went ahead and drilled a big hole. You guys probably won't be able to see this, but they drilled a big hole through the journal, through the rod journal. Great idea. And there was a light in the crankshaft because apparently engineers only needed 50 years to do something and still they couldn't do it right. But anyways, won't get into that. Now you take the Cummins, for instance. I was going to show it on the block, but I got a crankshaft right here that we haven't washed yet, so we'll show that. They have 7 journals. So in turn, being that they have 7 journals, the crankshaft is now inherently stronger because of that. They are heavier as well, because these are more of an industrial style engine than the Duramax Power Stroke ever thought to be. So that helps too. And then being the inline 6, there again, inherently doesn't wear as fast as Power Stroke or Duramax. And the reason for that is because the piston is going, like if you're looking at it like this, the piston going straight up and down, the piston skirt isn't laying on itself. It's always just straight up and down. We're on a V engine, the engine being like this, right? The piston skirt literally is laying on that surface all the time. So it's, when it fires, it pushes down on the surface. It fires, it pushes up on the surface, whichever it may be, depending on RPM and blah, blah, blah. But, so they tend to wear more. The Duramax, they put an induction hardening on the top of it to help them from wearing, but then they wear below. So it is what it is. So, you know, there again, the simplicity of it. The oil pump is very simple. It's just 4 bolts holds the oil pump in. The camshaft, they're very, you know, they're again, very simple setup. They do have now, the Duramax does have 6 bolts per hole. That's the reason they don't have as many head gasket failures as the 6-liter 6.4 did. Just put these two heads beside each other here just so you can see them. So typical 6.4, it's cracked, or 6-liter, it's cracked. But you can see bolt holes, and bolt holes. So 6 per cylinder. And then these ones are 4 holes, 4 holes. So the 6-liter 6.4, that's basically the reason they blew head gaskets so often. That's the reason we O-ring hundreds of them a year even still. And then if you look at the Cumminms, which this one I've O-ringed already, but you can see this one and your 2 holes, 2 holes, 2 holes. So 6 bolts per cylinder holding it down. Obviously these ones are shared between 2 cylinders, but nonetheless, there is 6 bolts per cylinder holding it down. So that makes a difference, right? It does make a considerable difference. So there again, like I said, it's the simplicity for me. I like the simplicity. Even in the brand new ones, they're still simpler than its predecessor, or not the predecessor, still simpler than the counterpart being a Chevy or a GM or whatever brand. That's basically the major 3, right? It's just the simplicity for myself. That's the reason. That's when it comes down to it, that's the reason I like mechanicals and all that stuff, is just simplicity. Simplicity, simplicity, simplicity. So you know, one of those things, like I said, that's just, for me, that's what it is. It's all about simplicity. And, well, they are the fastest diesel engine. So I guess there's also that. Poke the bear a little bit. So, anyways, I can't think of any more on that one. That's the reason I like them. Is what it is. If you like them, right on. Give me a like, subscribe. Lots more content to come. And if you have any questions, comments, or want me to do videos like this on anything versus, you know, versus this, versus that, or something like that, let me know down in the comments. I'll do my best to do something for you. This is just going in my opinion, right? So take it as a grain of salt. You know, if you don't like my opinion, well, I really don't care. But if you like my opinion, you know, continue to watch. If you don't like my opinion, that's, everybody's got their own opinion, and that's the reason we live in a free world. Free country? Yeah, free country, I guess. Shouldn't say free world. Free country. Anyways, catch you on the next one. Like, subscribe, hit me down in the comments, like I said. And remember, it's not rocket science.